Hello, and welcome to this brief introduction to student life in the Laureate College boarding program. I am the Director of Student Life, Dr. Christopher Hinchcliffe, and I hope this presentation will give you all you need to know as you prepare for your upcoming year at Laureate College. We'll go over a few key items today, some of which will matter more when you arrive, but many of which are important for you to know and understand as you prepare over the summer for your upcoming year at Laureate. So I'll introduce the campus a little bit. Again, this might be familiar to you if you have done a campus tour or one of our prior webinars. I'll also introduce the Student Life team, explain what life is like on a daily basis here at Laureate College in the boarding program. We'll go over what weekend activities, long weekends, holidays look like here, as well as enrichment activities during the week after school. More importantly, over the summer, we'll go over what you need to prepare, what to pack, and importantly, what not to pack for your year here at Laureate. And finally, we'll go over some key documents you'll need to review, acknowledge, and understand before you arrive. So let's get into it. So to begin, let's review what you probably already know. Laureate College is nestled beneath the Niagara Escarpment in the city of Burlington, Ontario. It is only a few minutes from the highway, but it feels like you are in the middle of nowhere when you are here. The surrounding nature is peaceful and very conducive both to a healthy lifestyle, but I think to a productive learning environment. So I'm very excited to welcome you here if you haven't seen the campus in person. For those who, again, aren't aware, the dorms are separated. We have male dorms and female dorms, and we hold about a capacity of 40 students total. There is a dining package, but students can, with permission, use on-site cooking facilities if they would like maybe a little taste of home, a favorite dish, or if they would like to try out something that one of their roommates or their dorm mates have brought from their homes as well. A wonderful opportunity for some cross-cultural sharing. We have weekend trips off campus and on campus pretty much every weekend. Cultural, entertainment, local landmarks, that sort of thing. I'll go over those in a little more detail as well. We have a range of clubs every day available for the boarding students. In fact, they are mandatory Monday through Thursday for our boarding students. So we try to give a good option of 2 to 3 clubs per day to choose from. And we take feedback from the students regarding what clubs we offer. So if there is something you're really excited about doing outside of school, let me know, even over the summer, and we'll see if we can prepare for a club that meets that interest of yours. We do have an evening study period, which is supervised by our dorm parents. During this period, you can work on homework. Often students will sign up for extra classes online, or we can bring in tutors for you if you need help with a specific subject. But it doesn't have to be academic. It can be constructive work of a different kind. Maybe you're going to practice music or work on an engineering project that you're interested in. Or it could simply be quiet reading time. Anything that we consider productive activity will fit into this study period. And as for special holidays and weekends, I'll go over those in a little bit. Allow me now to introduce the Student Life team. So by now you already recognize my face, Dr. Christopher Hinchcliffe, Director of Student Life. I'm the primary contact both for parents, if you have an issue you'd like to discuss, or for the students during the school day. Once the school day is over, it turns to one of our dorm parents. This year, we were very lucky to have Miss Ria Sharma as our resident supervisor and Helu Zhang as one of our dorm parents. Both of them provide pastoral care, supervision, as well as just assistance to the students if they need it during the evening periods. Of course, they're not on duty all night, though they are on call. So we do have security personnel that start around 11 p.m. when the dorm doors are closed, who are available in an emergency type situation. So there is always someone around making sure the environment is safe and that the students are supported throughout the day. Hopefully by now this image or something like it is familiar to you. It is of course the inside of one of our dorm rooms. Now, our goal isn't just to provide a place for you to sleep and study, it is to encourage you to learn how to live respectfully and peacefully with other people. So, at the start, you will be assigned a bed, and we make those assignments considering a number of factors. First, gender, obviously. We are separated by boys and girls in different parts of the building. But we also try to match students who are of similar ages, but different backgrounds. One of the ways we encourage students whose first language is not English to practice their English is to pair them with students whose native language is also not English, but not the same as theirs. This encourages them to practice their conversational English all the way through the entire day, not just during the school day. We also give you the opportunity to fill in a lifestyle survey, which helps us know a little bit about how you operate as a person. So, for example, if you are a night owl who likes to study late into the night, we will try not to pair you with what we call a morning lark who prefers to go to bed quite early and rise very early. So we do try and match students who have similar patterns so as not to cause undue disruption. There is always the possibility of changing if for some reason the room we assign to you just doesn't work out. It's a simple process of applying and having a conversation with myself about the reasons for the change. And if I think the reason is fair and legitimate, then we will do our best to put you into a room where you feel safe, comfortable, and that you will have a productive and successful study experience. Now, one thing I will mention is there is lots of storage both in the room and elsewhere in the school. So, for example, when you arrive and you've unpacked your suitcases into the wardrobe or the chests of drawers or the underbed storage, you may not want to keep your suitcases in the room. We'll take those downstairs into our basement storage facility. We can also store their seasonal sporting activities if you're bringing skis or a bicycle, that kind of thing, so that we can keep the rooms tidy as well as clean. Studying is difficult to do in your rooms if your rooms are packed with stuff. One final note on that point is when you come, if you're the kind of person who likes to shop, likes to buy things, whether that's online or during our weekly or regular shopping excursions, do keep in mind the space you have available in your room and, more importantly, perhaps in your suitcase for when you return home. It's not uncommon for students to forget this and come the end of the year realize that they have 6 suitcases worth of stuff and only 3 suitcases to bring it home in. So, for the sake of a tidy environment during the school year and a less stressful packing situation when you eventually leave Laureate, do keep in mind how much space you actually have. Again, many of these images should be familiar to you by now, but just a quick review of the facilities that are available to students who are living on campus. There is the fitness center, which is both available during club time as a club activity after school, but also during the non-structured or non-scheduled times in the evening. Simply check out the key from the dorm parents. The classrooms, which you'll use during the day, are also available to you during the evenings should you wish to have a quiet space for an online class, or if you have some deep focused work and you would like fewer distractions. Classrooms are available to you pretty much until lights out at 11. We also have table tennis and pool tables available in our activity room, which you can play during your downtime. Outside, we have a soccer field and outdoor basketball facilities, which are very popular during the spring and summer seasons here at Laureate. We also have several student lounges. Each dorm, the boys' dorm and the girls' dorm, have their own small lounge where students can gather, as well as a central common area, which is new this year in the center of the high school floor. It has a large TV, it has tables, it has comfortable seating. Students will gather there to study, to play card games, board games, video games, watch films. We sometimes have movie nights in this area. But it's also just generally a place for students to be out of their rooms, be social, interact with some of their fellow students. I mentioned earlier there is kitchen facilities, there is cooking facilities for students to use. They can store their own food in several shared fridges throughout the campus. And there is both shared and, if you like, you can have your own private cooking equipment stored in that kitchen. It is something you need permission to use. Again, we have to encourage good habits in terms of proper storage of food items and, importantly, cleaning up after yourself. So there is a little bit of training and a little bit of a supervision required in the beginning when it comes to cooking, but it is something we're very happy for our students to do. Again, whether that's to give yourself a taste of home or maybe cooking or baking is just a personal passion of yours. So that is also available for you as well. So what does a day in the life of a Laureate boarding student look like? Well, it's very similar to many other school days, but I'll point out a few things that are important for you to understand even now as you are preparing to arrive at the school. First, school does start at 8:30 a.m. most days, and I'll come back to that. This means that you should be waking up between 7 and 7:30 so you have time to shower, prepare yourself for the day, and to get breakfast in the dining hall, which is served between 7:30 and 8:30. Now, during this time, you will have to check in with the dorm parent on duty so that we know you are up and ready to go to class. If you are ill, you can send the dorm parent a message, or if we don't see you, we will come to your room to check on you and make sure that you're okay if you need any assistance. But if you've just overslept, that you are awake and ready to get to class, because attendance in classes here is very important. In fact, starting in the fall of 2026, it is going to count for up to 15% of your final grade. This is a new initiative by the Ministry of Ontario to encourage students to attend and participate actively in classes. So it's important that over the summer, if you're seeing this over summer vacation, that you don't let your morning routine fall too much into the sleeping until 10 a.m. Category. Try and maintain a healthy routine over the summer so that when you do arrive at the school, you're ready to go and you don't find it to be too much of a shock to your system. You will by now know that you have 2 classes per day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. The morning class is divided up actually into 3 periods. So you'll have your class for one period from 8:30 to 9:45. Then we have what's called our independent learning period. Most days, this is a time for you to work on homework or, if you like, hang out with your friends. Mondays and Fridays, though, it is assigned for activities like school assemblies and our house activities. So it's not just a break period, but it is a break from your class. The second half of your morning class will start at 10:40 and will take us to 11:55, which is when lunch is served in the dining hall. Now, on Wednesdays, we offer a slightly different schedule. Instead of a 3-period structure on Wednesday mornings with an independent period in the middle, we have what's called a late start day. So classes on Wednesday mornings will actually start at 10 a.m. There will be no independent study period in between. You'll simply have a short 10 or 15-minute break, and then your morning class will continue all the way until 12:20 p.m. Again, that's just on Wednesdays. The normal schedule is the one you see on the screen now, and you'll get into the routine once you're here. Your afternoon class runs from 12:40 to 3:15, Again, with a 15-minute break in the middle there so you can stretch your legs or get some water or catch up with your friends. After school, again, you'll have a short break to either drop off your backpacks in a classroom or in a locker if you need it, or to get anything you need for your clubs, which begin promptly at 3:30. Again, these are mandatory for boarding students, so we try and offer a good variety both on any given day, and we rotate the offerings throughout the year. So in each of our 4 terms, you could have anywhere from 8 to 12 clubs available to you, which means that over the course of a school year, you have up to 40 clubs perhaps to choose from. Again, the club offerings change every term, they change every year. We are always asking for students to suggest what's interesting to them, to suggest things that they're passionate about having during this club time. And many of our clubs, as a result, are student run. So they bring their own passions and share them with their fellow students. So as you prepare for your arrival at Laureate College, don't just focus on the clubs we already have listed on our website. Think about what clubs you might like to see or indeed might like to run when you get here. There's a bit of a break after club time before dinner. So from sort of 4:30 to 5:30 is free time. And then it is dinner time until about 6:30, at which point you are required to report to the meeting hall for evening study period. Again, once you've checked in with the dorm parent, it is not required that you stay in the meeting hall. You can request a separate classroom for private study if you have an online class, or if you would like to practice an instrument, or something that requires a little more privacy. The goal here is that you are not in your dorm room during this period unless it's absolutely essential. Finally, lights out. We start preparing for bed around 10:30. At 11 o'clock, the dorm parents will close and lock the dorm doors, at which point you are expected to stay in your rooms. You do not have to go to bed right away. Again, if you are a night owl, you are welcome to continue studying in your room. But I will refer back to my first point, which is you are still required to wake up between 7:30 and 8 if you're going to make your 8:30 class. So I would advise trying to get your studying done during the evening study period rather than waiting until later at night, which will only make the mornings harder. Again, what does this have to do for you with you right now? My only advice is, as you prepare for your visit, if this is summer vacation for you, try not to get into bad habits over the break. All right, so that when you arrive, you could have solid, established habits to ensure a great learning experience while you're here. Just a few quick notes on what to expect when you first arrive. So we will be given information about your flight and hopefully your taxi or however you're arranged to get from the airport to the school. And no matter whether you start at the beginning of the school year or you join us in a subsequent term, all students will be onboarded or welcomed to the boarding program in pretty much the same way. When you arrive, you'll check in with a member of the student life team, myself, or one of the dorm parents, and we will collect the important documents that we need to keep safe for you. So your permits, your passports, and perhaps any cash you're traveling with that you don't want to keep in your dorm room, we will keep safe and locked up in our office. We'll tell you what bed you're assigned to, show you to your room, and introduce you to your roommates. And then depending on the time of day, we might give you some time to unpack first, or give you a quick tour around the campus so you know where to find the key items such as the kitchen, the dining hall, the common areas, an activity room, and of course where your classroom will be on your first day so that you're not lost and wandering through the hallways. We'll also double check that you have submitted all the necessary documents to admissions prior to your arrival. There's a separate webinar or video about that, I believe. But things like your vaccination records, your health insurance, those sorts of things, we'll make sure that all of those have been collected. And then from our side, we'll make sure that you have reviewed the essential documents that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So it's a fairly straightforward procedure. If you do arrive at the beginning of the year, you'll be able to participate in some group activities to help everyone get to know each other, as well as a shopping trip in case you forgot to pack anything very important. The shopping trips become a weekly routine after the first weekend, so don't worry if you don't arrive in time for the first one. You will have other opportunities pretty much every week to get the essentials. So much for school days. Let's talk a little bit about weekends. So every weekend, usually on Saturday, the school prepares some kind of activity or excursion for the boarding students. Popular trips are things like visiting Toronto, the CN Tower, the museum, art gallery, as well as Ripley's Aquarium. We also take trips to Niagara Falls in the warm seasons, which has not only the falls, but an entire town full of fun activities and interesting shops and little museums that are worth a visit. But we also do things closer to home. We do activities on campus, such as competitions or art classes, as well as fun local activities such as bowling, go-karting, laser tag, that kind of thing. Something to get the students off campus and into the community. Again, this is one of those things that while we do have planned activities at the start of the year, we are very open to hearing student suggestions. We had several trips this year that were very popular that were arranged or first suggested by students based on their interest. So again, before you arrive, feel free to have a look at what this part of the country has to offer and see if there's something you'd really like to see added to the weekend schedule. I will say here that many of these activities are included for boarding students. That is, they don't incur an extra fee. Some of them do, and in particular the overnight trips, which I'll talk about next. But I do want you to know that students are encouraged, they're not required to come on these trips, but they are encouraged to make the most of their experience here in Canada. And because many of these trips are included in their boarding fees, there really is no reason to stay home on the weekends. Okay, so now let's talk about long weekends and extended holidays. So long weekends are just regular weekends where the Friday before or the Monday after has a national holiday or a school holiday, leading to a break of 3 or sometimes 4 days from normal school life. Now, during this time, we will still offer the regular Saturday activity or excursion, but because of the extended break, we'd like to offer a little something else for our boarding students. These are extra activities, so they are not included in the boarding package, but they are offered every long weekend, and we're always open to hearing suggestions from students for different but similar kinds of trips. So some examples of trips we have done in the past and plan to do again in the future. In the winter months, we go to somewhere called Great Wolf Lodge, which is an indoor water park themed resort, and that's an overnight trip. Similarly, the trip to Blue Mountain, which offers some of the best snow skiing, downhill skiing, cross-country skiing in the province. That's another overnight trip we offer every February. In the springtime, we can visit some local historic towns that are a little bit further away but well worth the visit, such as Elora. Or for overnight trips, we might go as far as, again, Ottawa, Montreal, or Quebec City. Now, extended holidays are the two-week breaks we have. One late December, early January over the Christmas holiday here in Canada, and then a 2-week break in March. Technically, the school is closed during these periods, and boarding students are technically required to leave their rooms so that the school can be sort of shut down. However, we understand this is not feasible for every family, and so we have a number of different options on these breaks. One is to stay with a homestay family. We've partnered with the Canada Homestay Network, which screens and approves families in the area to host students and give them a taste of what life is like for a Canadian family. This is really popular, especially around Christmas time, so the winter holiday break because it gives international students a chance to see one of our biggest holidays celebrated by a Canadian family in a Canadian home. It's a really wonderful experience, and all the students who have done it have some wonderful stories and memories from it. Another option is to take one of our longer trips. Again, these are extra 7 or 8 day overnight trips to a number of cities outside of Ontario. So again, we might do a multi-city tour to Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec City, historically important cities in Canadian history, spending a couple of days at each. And in March, we also have overseas trips, which appeal to students maybe who aren't originally from China, to visit our sister school in Shanghai, the Huashu School. So these are just some of the options that we have done in the past and are planning for the future. But this is an always changing sort of offering. We're very open to hearing feedback from our students about trips they would like to see on these long weekends or extended holidays. If in the very worst case scenario, your student or you do have to stay at the campus over an extended holiday, it is possible to arrange that. And if that does happen, we will provide some activity every day that the student is here. Because again, we don't want our students just having a complete break or being too isolated in their rooms or anything like that. Again, it's not the default position, but we will try and make an effort to accommodate different families' needs, because again, we know it's different for everyone. I did touch on this a little bit earlier when I was talking about the daily schedule, but just a quick review of the enrichment activities, more commonly known as just clubs or co-curricular activities. These are the activities that take place after the school day, Monday to Thursday, from about 3:30 to 4:30. As I mentioned before, because we have 4 terms and we change what clubs are offered each term, and each day has at least 2 options, often 3, students can have 30 to 40 clubs to choose from over the course of the school year. The main thing I want you to think about in advance of arriving at Laureate is there a club you wish that we had? Right? If there is a club you would like to see, if there is a hobby you'd like to explore for the first time, or a passion you would like to share with other students, let us know. The earlier you let us know, the better we can prepare for a subsequent term or school year to make that club available for you. We're by no means committed or fixed to any of the clubs we've done in the past. We have some regular ones that are favorites and are part of the school culture, such as our volunteer club, our backyard harvest, or the farm to table club, where students have an opportunity to work in the organic farm we have on the property, and then harvest those vegetables and have them prepared for the school to serve in the dining hall, which is a wonderful experience for everyone. Things like that are regular recurring clubs, but we're always adding to the list of things that we offer. So as you prepare for your trip to Canada, your visit to Laureate, have a think about what kinds of activities you would be excited to either try for the first time, or things that you're already good at that you would love to share with other students. So now we get to some of the really important stuff for the preparation stage. So before you come to the school, you need to know what to bring. So we've seen pictures of the dorms, maybe you've done a tour, but let's just go over what will be here and you don't need to bring, and then go over some of the things you do need to bring. I won't go through every single item. You will have access to these documents either in a package sent to you by admissions or in the Moodle course, which you should be registered for. And again, if you have any questions about either of those, you can reach out to myself. The contact information I will provide at the end of this presentation. But let's go over what you will have when you come to Laureate. We will, of course, provide you with your bunk and mattress. You will get a pillow, bedsheet, comforter, all that kind of stuff. You don't need to bring any bedding. You will have a closet with hangers, so you will be able to hang up, some nicer clothing or anything that doesn't want to be folded up into drawers. You will have your own desk, lamp, and chair. There will be a mirror in your room, a couple of waste baskets, towels. Obviously, you will have internet access, and as I mentioned, you'll have an ensuite bathroom, which means you'll just have a bathroom attached to your dorm room that you'll share with a couple of other students. Now, one thing I'll say up front is students are required to provide their own toiletries, and that includes things like toilet paper. All right, you don't have to bring that with you. This is the kind of thing that you'll be able to purchase right away, so that you can either share with your roommates, you can go in on a large package or whatever, but anything that you would keep in the bathroom other than towels, which we will provide, you don't have to purchase in advance or bring with you, but you will have to get once you get here. We'll have some basics available for you if it's a couple of days before you can make it shopping. But those are the main things to think about what you don't need to bring. In terms of what you do need to bring, well, you definitely should have some kind of alarm clock. For most of us, it's our phones, but mornings can be tough. We don't always want to get up for school when we're supposed to. So make sure you have some way of getting yourself up in the morning. This is especially important for our grade 9 and 10 students. One thing I didn't mention before is grade 9 and 10 students have to hand in their devices at lights out. So the dorm parent will collect your phones, tablets, your laptop if necessary. So you won't have any devices in your room to help wake you up, especially if you're in grade 9 or 10. So do consider having either a watch with an alarm or a small alarm clock that's battery operated that you can use to make sure you stay on your schedule without any other devices. Okay. Anything you need for the bathroom, it's for the washroom. These are different for every person. So there are some suggestions here on this list. Obviously, you'll need toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, if you use hair dryers, that kind of thing. These are suggestions, right? It all depends on what your own personal routine is. In terms of clothing, this again is suggested, right? Recommended. The idea here is something like you will have roughly 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks of clothes before you need to do laundry. Laundry facilities are available for you. They are free to use. Every room is given a day of the week that is their day to use the washing facilities. It doesn't mean you have to use it that day, but if it's not your day, you have to ask the people whose day it is if they are using it that day or not. So we run a sort of scheduled laundry system here, and we'll introduce more of that when you come in person. But the point here is you don't want to have too few clothing, too few clothes, but you don't want to have too much either. What's important here is that you have enough undergarments and socks and pajamas and stuff to get you through a couple of weeks in case you can't do laundry every week. But most importantly, you have the correct variety. So we do have seasons here in Ontario, and the differences can be extreme. Summers, including June at the end, and even late summer in September, can be quite warm. So it's important you have a good selection of light clothes, t-shirts, that kind of thing to wear in the evenings. But then when the winter comes, you're also going to want to have thick socks, boots for being outside, at least one fairly thick winter jacket, hat, gloves or mittens, right? Some longer sleeve shirts. If this is something you're not really sure about, you're not really sure how to pack for this, you're not used to such extreme differences in the weather, you can still plan for that. So one solution is don't go out and try and guess what you're going to need for the winter right away. Instead, pack less in your suitcase. So don't fill your suitcase, leave some space in it when you come. And then when you're here, you can, with someone local, with one of the dorm parents on one of the weekly shopping trips, they can help you choose precisely the kinds of clothes you might need for the winter. I mentioned don't pack your full suitcase if you take this strategy, and that is so that you can bring these clothes back with you and you don't have to abandon them when you leave. For our students who are staying and going on to university in Ontario, this winter clothing will be invaluable as you go on to your next stage of education. So a couple of different strategies there. The important thing to remember is that we do have seasons, and make sure you're prepared for these different changes, these different kinds of weather. In terms of personal belongings, again, this is all going to depend on the individual. But, a camera, if you are into photography, and a phone just won't cut it. You'll want some kind of purse or backpack. Sunscreen is important, headphones. Many of these things I think you will think of on your own. Phones and chargers. I'm going to circle back and say backpack one more time. We do close the dorms during the school day. Okay, so the dorms are not accessible except under certain circumstances during the school day. So it is important that when you leave your dorm, you act as if you are leaving your home, so that you pack anything you're going to need for both of your classes, anything you're going to want to use during your breaks or lunchtime, and ideally anything you're going to need for club time. So if you are, for example, doing the outdoors club and it looks like it's going to be a little bit cool that afternoon, you might want to make sure you pack your light jacket in your backpack as well. Please also come prepared with some basic school supplies, right? Maybe a notebook or a binder, some pens that you like, right? As well as your laptop or tablet, okay? For the sunnier seasons, hats, again, sunscreen, I think I mentioned, sunglasses. Those are important pieces of protection for when we do longer outdoor activities, whether it's a house challenge or one of our hikes along the Bruce Trail or to see the waterfalls. The sun, can surprise you, especially if you have been indoors for most of the winter. So do have something prepared for that. Again, if you're not sure, don't worry. We do weekly shopping trips. We do regular trips to larger shopping centers. There's always the opportunity to pick up something that you don't have. The one thing I will really emphasize, and this is true for all students, but it's especially true for grade 12 students, is to have one nice outfit. Everyone should have at least one nice outfit for school pictures. And by nice outfit, I mean something like a white blouse or a white collared shirt, okay, dark skirt or dark pants, trousers, right? And then proper formal shoes in a dark color, okay? Whether you want a jacket, a tie, those sorts of things are up to you. But these will make the school pictures show you at your best. And for graduates, it's essential that during the graduation ceremony, underneath your gowns, you are wearing a formal outfit. Hopefully you're getting excited by now, thinking about weekend activities and packing for your trip. So I hope I don't dampen this too much when I talk about the things that we definitely don't want in the dorms. These are items that are prohibited. They are prohibited for you to bring from home, and they are prohibited from you to purchase here and bring into the dorms, okay? We do regular dorm inspections, so we will find them if you have them in your dorm. And there are penalties associated with this, all the way up to suspension from the boarding program or expulsion. So I don't want to bring the mood down. I do want you to be excited about your trip, but it is important that you understand the kinds of things you cannot have in our dorms. Top of the list should come as no surprise: alcohol, illegal substances and drugs, as well as the accessories for them, any nicotine products, cigarettes, vapes, all of these are prohibited. This is for your safety, your health, as well as the health and safety of everyone else in the boarding community. Maybe less obvious, while we have Wi-Fi, we ask that no one set up independent networks inside the boarding, the dorms. Okay, so networking hardware such as hubs, routers, switches, and other Wi-Fi access points or extenders are not allowed. Certain appliances, which you can either bring with you or purchase here to store in the kitchen, right, in the activity room kitchen, which is open for students to use, cannot be stored in the dorms. The idea being that food, other than the odd snack, should not be consumed or certainly not prepared in the dorms. So any sort of blenders, toasters, refrigerators, that kind of thing, none of that is allowed inside the dorms. Nothing with a flame, no candles, no incense, right? This is a major hazard. Again, appliances like coffee makers, pretty much if it's not a computer, a fan, or a lamp, then if you have to plug it in, it's probably not allowed. I don't know if that's too general or not, but I think it's a safe rule of thumb. Overly large external monitors, they take up too much space and they crowd out the other desks in the room. Obviously, no weapons, firearms, even paint guns, right? Even sort of non-lethal weapons, play or sport weapons are not allowed. Display weapons, if you have that nice samurai sword, that you collect or something, again, those won't be allowed. Small knives, blades, that kind of thing. Anything that would pose a potential harm or risk of harm to fellow students is not going to be allowed. Any lights or lamps with a halogen bulb, those get extremely hot and are a fire risk. And then again, hoverboards, electric skateboards, scooters, mini bikes, anything that's powered, right, is not allowed in the dorm. Now, when it comes to sporting equipment, right, we can make exceptions. We can discuss that with a student if, for example, they really want maybe an e-bike or something like that, and they want to get one here. It won't be stored in the dorms. That we can't allow. But there are circumstances where, depending on what the equipment is used for, we might get around this particular rule. So best thing to do is to ask first and make sure that we are okay with it. But again, very fringe sort of circumstance, not a lot of that happening. A few more items. Again, these sort of all fit into my earlier point that if you plug it in and it's not a computer, a phone charger, or a lamp, or a fan, it's probably on this list right here. So microwave ovens, lava lamps, toasters, right? Any sort of appliance, right? That kind of thing. Another one is pets, right? Please do not bring your furry friends with you or acquire any while you are here. Again, it is a health concern for a shared living space, so we simply cannot allow those. In order to understand the consequences that go behind breaking any of the rules or bringing any of the items we just talked about, I want to briefly introduce you to what we have here, something called the Residence Conduct Framework. You will receive a copy of this, which I will ask you to read, and if you have any questions about, reach out to me, and then this will be one of the essential documents that you'll have to acknowledge you have read in writing. But just to briefly give you an overview, the Residence Conduct Framework is our way of encouraging the best and discouraging the worst kind of behavior in a shared living environment. Okay, we need this environment to be safe, full of respect, and comfortable for all of its members. We are a community here. So when students make mistakes, which again happen from time to time, we try to address them fairly, help them correct their choices, and support them in restoring trust with their peers and staff. On the other side, when students demonstrate above expectation in terms of responsibility, leadership, initiative, or care for others, we also feel they deserve to be recognized. So our residence conduct framework is not just a system of penalties, it is also a system of rewards. We essentially assign points or for behavior that is either worthy of modeling, right? Good behavior, as well as the mistakes that people make. And when you accrue points in either direction, various rewards or penalties follow from that. Again, I don't want to go too much into that right now. You'll have a more in-depth orientation when you arrive, and the written documentation will be sent to you separately, just so that everyone understands that we do have a structure in place for both rewarding and disciplining when the terms of your staying here are not fully lived up to. As long as everyone adheres to the residence conduct framework, our hope is that we strengthen residence life and support the well-being of the entire community. In addition to the residence conduct framework, there are 3 other essential documents that every student and parent should read, understand, and acknowledge that they have understood before they come to campus. Those are the student handbook, the dormitory residence manual, and the boarding program essential rules document. Now, I know it sounds like a lot of reading. These will be made available to you in the Moodle course, which you will be enrolled in, or they'll be sent to you via email separately. But it's really important that you understand clearly what the expectations are of students admitted to our boarding program. We want to make sure that the expectations are clear, that the disciplinary structure is understood and is acknowledged, so that when students are here, they know what is expected of them, and they know what the consequences will be if they do not live up to those expectations. We don't want any surprises. This is in the spirit not only of well-being and safety of the community, but also fairness. It's important that the students don't feel caught off guard if they didn't know something wasn't allowed. There's far too much in these documents for me to go over in this orientation. So again, take your time over the summer or in the time before you come to read these documents at your own pace. Reach out if you have any questions, and then sign that you have acknowledged and accepted the terms and the rules and the policies expressed in these 4 documents. That brings us to the end of this orientation for students preparing to come to Laureate College. Again, I encourage you to go back and watch this as many times as you need to, and more importantly, as I've said throughout, to reach out if you have any questions. So I'll just point out several ways you have of communicating with myself or with the student life team generally, both in the lead up to your trip as well as once the student is here. My email address is right there on the screen. We also have a phone which is held by whoever is on duty. So if you ever need to reach your student or need to reach the boarding staff, you can always call or send a message to the phone number presented on the screen there. It is also connected to WhatsApp if you prefer messaging or calling through that. It also has its own WeChat ID and Line ID. So whichever messaging app you use, you should be able to reach someone on the boarding staff, on the student life team, pretty much from 8 a.m. until lights out at 11. After that, we have the nighttime staff, which you can reach out to. Again, their contact numbers will be in the handbooks that I mentioned previously. Please do not hesitate to reach out at any point before your trip with any question. No question is too small, and no question is too big. If you are interested in some of our overnight trips on long weekends or over the extended breaks, or you'd like to start planning ahead for those extended holidays, please reach out early and we'll make sure that your student is on the list for those activities. And for the students who are watching, make sure that you put your mind to clubs, activities, or excursions that you're really interested in doing or taking part in when you're here at Laureate College. The earlier we know about them, the better chance we have of putting together something really great that you've asked for. Thank you so much for your attention. I look forward to meeting you all in person, and in the meantime, have a wonderful day.